Hey, this is George,
Hey, this is Frags.
and this is Real Talk with George and Frazier. How's everybody doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. We got a great show today.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. We have Krystal Tantric. I hope I'm saying her name right, man.
I don't
She's
know if you said it right. I don't know, but we're gonna ask her though.
yes, please ask her because
We're gonna ask her that question.
I'll be brutalizing last names, man. She just gotta forgive me. Um, Great show today. Women's health using yoga. We have her on, and it's going to be a barn burner.
Exactly.
With a lot of things that are going on now, this is the right show for this particular right time. So I'm excited to speak to her.
Exactly. I am too. I'm very curious. I want to learn some stuff today. So I'm interested in learning today.
The stuff you want to learn, Frey.
Hey,
Okay,
I'm ready like that. Come on.
okay. Definitely. We also have some other things to talk about too, but let's get with this interview. Miss
All
Krystal,
right.
welcome to Real
Hey,
Talk.
there.
Hi, how y'all doing?
We'll
Good.
do
We're doing good. How you doing?
Thank you.
I'm okay. I've been getting my hair locked.
Oh, I
That's
see.
why that's why I got this hat on today. So I've been in the salon all for the past 3 days actually.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
How you do it? I don't know how y'all do that.
I know I thought all day was bad. Now it's 3 days. I got one more day.
Wait, 2 days.
Yeah. This side isn't done yet. So
Okay.
Oh wow.
Okay. I thought you were just styling with the hat. I liked it. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
thank you. I don't understand anything, right?
You know, and it's all the picture, after picture. Okay, go on. Oh, dang.
absolutely. No doubt about it. Welcome to Real Talk. Want to talk to you about what you do, your services that you offer with your clients, and some of the issues really that are affecting women in today's society that doesn't get swept under the rug, but per se doesn't get talked about enough. You know, I know we talk about postpartum depression or things of that nature, but those are all the common buzz things that happen. There's other things that happen with women psychologically, physically, and emotionally that as men we don't pick up on until we have to go to counseling for it. Then the counselor will be like, "Well, she said this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah,"
Exactly.
and you're like, "What? Well, how did that happen?" You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, tell, I'm sorry, but tell the fans and the listeners uh, who you are and what you do, and we can go from there.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me on today. So my name is Krystal, and I go by Krystal Tantric Yogi. That's kind of like my business and my influencer name. And I'm basically a yogi, meaning I practice yoga, and I also practice Tantra, which is a spiritual science that some people know as a style of yoga, but some people just study as a philosophy and science and a way of living. And the unique thing about Tantra is it usually includes some kind of sexual alchemy, meaning that we don't exclude your sexual energy in the process of healing yourself or expanding and developing your spirituality. And as it relates to women, and some of maybe the issues that are less talked about are things like if you've experienced sexual trauma or sexual abuse, sexual violence, or if you just feel repressed in any way in that area. So we have a lot of sex experts and a lot of sex coaching. I think the difference with me is the idea is to connect your spirituality with your sexuality. So a lot of times we feel like we can't feel spiritual when we're at our most erotic and primal selves, but that's not really the way Tantra, the philosophy of Tantra believes that God designed it. We were given a primal nature for a reason. Now we have to mature it as we get older, especially once we hit adolescence and those hormones start going. Like we have to take an active role in maturing it, but it doesn't mean we have to shy away from it, or it doesn't mean that it doesn't have a role outside of just making babies. Like it's a part of our creativity. It's a part of like how we know what we want, and how we make decisions about our desires and what makes life worth living. Like it's kind of the zest of life. It's also the same energy that gives athletes the energy to go really hard and go really fast. And, it's that same energy. So Tantra gives you the tools to see it in a more well-rounded perspective when it comes to your, your sensual and primal being, so that you're not constantly fighting against yourself.
Okay. You said a lot. I
did.
have a few questions. Okay.
Just
You
two.
said sexual. I have a few questions. It said throw up two
Okay.
hands because I didn't want to do this phrase.
Oh, okay. You can
Let's
make
do
it
two at a time. All right. That being said, sexual energy, sex in this country has been demonized and basically regulated to uh, a church type atmosphere. As the church sees it one way, the world sees it another way. And there's always that duality that's fighting. So, how do you, in your therapy, rectify that to where it's not a dirty thing and you got to wash your mouth out every time you say it?
Yeah, I think that, a lot of people come to me, it's not with a goal necessarily of not wanting to feel a certain way about sex, but it's more that they either they want better relationships, or they went through some type of sexual trauma, or they're having issues with ED, or they want to know how to make love or have better orgasms. So, but a lot of times that starts with kind of deprogramming how you feel about sex, and making it more sacred and learning how to cultivate intimacy. And so you always have to start back with unlearning the stuff that you were taught, like you said, from the church or from your family. And a lot of times there's not much education related to sex at all. It's like, okay, we prefer you to wait till you get married, or you need to wait till you get married, or it's a sin. But there's no real education around what really is sexual energy, and what are the other purposes to it other than just having children, and how does it have a domino effect on the rest of my life if I don't really know how to connect with it or understand it, or the power of it, or have a real discipline with it without suppressing it. How do I integrate it into the rest of my life without it taking control? So we always usually start there, like, okay, let's figure out, like, what are your thoughts around it? How did you develop these ideas? Let's start to unlearn that and see what's actually serving to you, what's you and what's somebody else. And then we start to get into some actual philosophies and meditation so that you can create some inner awareness and kind of develop, well, what really makes sense for you as an adult, in your life right now.
Okay. That was deep.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Frazier.
Oh, after that, I can cook pee after that. Jeez. Like that. Well, I want a question more like uncomfortable. Like, some men and women have an issue when they're in a relationship to talk about what they want, what they need, or what specifically they desire in a relationship. Like, how do the Tantra help that feel more comfortable in speaking about it and talking to each other, communicating about the importance of what this is to you, how important it is to me, versus that.
Yeah, I think it goes back to people unlearning, like, what thinking sex is dirty, like George was saying before. Like, when we understand that sex is really what makes, for me, I would think, and for most people, whether they realize or not, the connection and the bond in a romantic relationship. Otherwise, you might as well be a friend. So if there's a disconnect when it comes to sex, then there's a big issue in the romantic relationship. So, it's kind of the glue that keeps a romantic relationship together. Like, it's important. And so us I guess placing, sex, letting us be okay with prioritizing that as a fundamental, like, not just desire, but need. For everybody, you have people that are nuns, and you have special people that, they practice celibacy their whole life. But for most of us, it is a need, and it's something, and it's a right for us to have pleasure and have orgasms, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. So I think redefining and prioritizing, like, okay, let's really think about how does sex really affect our lives and how important it is to us, for the man and the woman, or both of the partners, whatever the dynamic of the relationship is, and how that makes a big difference. I'm always advocating, as a heterosexual, like, good dick ladies can change your life. Like, I always say that, like when you can find intimacy and love, and then have like a really satiating sexual experience with a man, it's very divine and sacred, and it can really help, awaken parts of you that you didn't know exist. And it really has a lot of sacred meaning. Like, it's not just something that's porn like, or whatever, whatever media is feeding us, of the shallow meaning of what physical sex is. It's always more than just the physical act. Like, you're deeply connecting with someone emotionally, even when people don't want to. You still are. It's a very intimate act.
Yes, I definitely agree with you, because that's one of the problems with divorces. Okay.
Yep.
It's not just, oh, well, it was just sex, because I say that on two folds, not because I've been married for over 20 years, but as a personal trainer, I have my own personal training company, as a lot of listeners know on the show. I would have trainers that come up to me in the gym and be like, hey, she wants to, I'll be like, I'm married. I can't do nothing with that, and then they'd be like, oh, no, it's just sex. And I always have to tell them, look, whatever you believe or what you don't believe, at some point in time, even if they're friends with benefits,
Exactly.
somebody catches feelings.
Exactly.
Right? And the reason why you catch feelings is because I believe, like you said, that that's the most sacred thing that can happen between a man and a woman. Okay, literally, two people becoming one, and physically and spiritually. That's just me. I'm not
Exactly.
saying this for anybody else. Just me.
Exactly.
So when you take that away and you see it, how many times do people in divorce court? Oh, the betrayal, the pain. Why? Because he stepped out and went and did something, or she stepped out and went and did something. And then sometimes you can't get past that because that pain is so raw and hurtful and violation of it that you got to go separate ways, because then the relationship becomes toxic. And I think that that's the one thing that um, we make it sound so easy now, so sociable. I mean, there's apps out now where you can creep, and there's apps out now where you can have affairs and things like that, that everything is cool. And the biggest thing about that is when you throw it out in the public and you normalize it, it's not just us as adults that we're hurting. We're setting different precedents for our kids, because I can guarantee you we didn't grow up like that. I'm going to talk for y'all. I didn't grow up like that. You know what I mean? And I had something that was completely different childhood coming up. So this whole thing is new to me per se. I grew up in a heavy religious Christian household. So that's where my perspective comes from on certain different things. But I wanted to put that in there because I'm agreeing with you 100%. But I also wanted to talk about some of the trauma issues that you were talking about and dealing with, because I know that some of those roots run so deep that even as adults, sometimes we can't function because we never uprooted those pains. You know what I mean? And it locks us down. Um, it just locks us down emotionally. We just can't get past it. We only see
Mm.
that particular thing. And sometimes when you're talking to somebody or therapy, until you unroot that pain and get past it, it carries with you. Because even in martial arts, I've practiced martial arts for years, over 30 years. And they always say, the poison only destroys the glass that it's held in. That's it, you know. And I didn't mean to be so metaphorical, but that's the only way I could explain it. So if you hold that vessel and you're that poison, you're holding the poison. You're the vessel. It's only destroying you. Same thing with forgiveness. So can you talk more to that aspect, therapeutic aspect, what people can expect to learn, to find out about themselves, and also heal? This is life. This is not a dress rehearsal. We only get one.
You don't get one chance.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to trauma, and I think we all experience some kind of trauma just living in the United States, even if we grew up in a heavily religious household and maybe nothing happened to us, just the duality of rap songs saying this and the church saying this, or you having primal feelings, natural feelings within someone telling you that those thoughts are nasty or, whatever. That type, dealing with that type of duality and trying to resolve it within yourself can be very traumatic. And then you have people that go through some, like, especially with women or men, like you're dick isn't big enough, or your boobs are too small, or because you develop early as a woman, you're going to be this type of girl when you grow up, and your uncle is looking at you. Like, all of those things are very traumatic. And what happens is you hold those emotions, and it shapes how you see your body, and even like your confidence, and just to the depth of who you think you are and what you think you're worth and what you tolerate and ask for and what you think you deserve. So, yeah, those types of traumas that we have as a child, we hold them in our unconsciousness. And our unconscious mind is so powerful because we're not aware of it. So we make decisions, on a regular basis in our life that we're unconscious of, but it's like, it's a pattern that's always happening. And so with Tantra and yoga, I think it's really important yoga is all about creating awareness to expand consciousness. So not only do we do talk therapy, but just like, being okay with the naked body. And I don't necessarily like do any nude sessions, but if you've ever seen my stories, I put things in there that are explicit, whether it's artwork, erotic art, or whatever, so people can be okay with the nude body, the erotic play. So we can start to destigmatize and look at things differently. And also just meditation. There's tantric meditations that have to do not just with the heart and your breath and your mind, but also your genitals. So there's practices where, okay, we're not just going to be sacred with our heart and our mind, but we're also going to send those sacred practices down to our genitals so that we include them in the cleansing, detoxifying, whatever process. So there's physical practices to deal with the tension that you're holding, and also building awareness. Because if you have issues with your naked body, if you have issues with your genitals, like I saw a quote on social media for women, I think this could apply to women, men as well. Like, if you are scared of your pussy, you can't be a powerful woman. Like there's some deep rooted issues there. You're not even going to really be able to enjoy your lover or believe them when they say, I love you, you're the best, da 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 da. And if you have issues with your naked body, or turns you off, or you see your lover and something about them turned you off because you're not used to the naked body. Like, those issues stem from childhood because we weren't taught, we didn't come here thinking that. We didn't know any better. So like Tantra includes, again, all of the body, and and really honoring our primal nature, our physical body. And that's a lot of times when I first start working with people, especially women, it's just like being okay with your body, it's okay.
Because your body changes, Frazier. Your body changes. Okay, it does. From where you were in your early teens, to where you're 20, to where you have kids, to when you start hitting 40, your body changes. And the reason why I say this is my wife blames my kids all the time. Look what y'all done did. I done gained all this weight, blah, blah, blah. And I keep telling her, don't put that on my babies. You know what I mean? Hey, it happens. You know what I mean? You just have to deal with it. I mean, I don't see you any different. It's only like 10, 15 pounds now. If it was like 40, 50 pounds, we'd be having a conversation. But you see what I mean? It happens, So my love for you doesn't change because of that. But I'm saying that to say the psychological part of that can be debilitating. If, like you said, if it's verbally abusive, or it's this or it's that, it could be debilitating. And a lot of people don't, the comeback to that is, oh, well, I ain't mean it like that. But that's how she heard it, or that's how he heard it. And that's what's affecting their decisions and certain things that they do. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Frazier.
Well, thanks. Now you coming at that, George? Really? That now?
You never know when he's just gonna pop you in there, do you?
All right. So my question is insecurity, because I know I've dated some women sometime, and they always have pictures, looking at pictures. And I remember I saw an issue of article, a video when a little girl, as a black girl, asked her, "Are you beautiful?" She said, "No, I'm not beautiful. I'm black. Black is ugly." And somebody that goes up as they get older, and sometimes they gain, like George said, somebody gain a little weight here, or they look at, or constantly go back to pictures from when they were in high school and reminiscing and stuff like that, whatever. And it become they say some may had uncomfortability, but some go into it later on in life after babies or a trauma event, or a boyfriend always saying you're fat, you're overweight. Oh my gosh, you were so skinny when I met you. Look at you now. Oh my God. the verbal abuse of that, of constant abuse of because the person getting a little weight here, a little weight. If you might be in the movie also, what Why Did I Get Married? You said part of the movie when he left on the plane because she was too big, she had to drive all the way to the vacation. I mean, like, what would you say to help people in that similar situation come out of that, either through yoga or through coaching, or try to rebuild their self-esteem after somebody breaks it down so bad, you know?
Yeah. One of the practices that I feel like is really powerful that I have women especially do is mirror gazing or mirror work, where you practice, like once you come out the shower or whenever you're getting dressed, like you take the time just to look at your naked body and observe all the things that you like about it, you know, and you can write it down, you can write affirmations down, and you spend, 2 to 3 minutes just, looking at your body. And I know, like for me, doing practices like that, regardless of, sometimes I'll be like, dang, like, what is this? What did I eat? But to this day, but I've gotten so used to being nude and seeing myself nude in the daytime, not at dark, not when I'm just, where I can walk around nude. I find myself going to sleep nude. It becomes like more second nature. So now when I make love, like I'm never worried about turning off the lights. I'm never worried about I got to be under the covers. We can make love in the daytime in the living room with the windows open. Like I don't think about it as much. It's just my body. And if we have good intimacy and I'm attracted to you and you're attracted to me, it's not about every little whatever imperfection. It's about the connection that we're sharing.
Right.
I think that's what we need to get back, because we are our bodies, but we're not. We're much more than that. And you want to take care of your body from a place of, because I love myself. I want to be here for a while. My body does a lot for me. Think about everything it does for you right now. The fact that you're still alive in 2020, your body is doing a pretty good job. With all your body's doing an excellent job. So to see your body from that place, and taking the time to have gratitude for your body, not just when you have clothes on, not just when your hair is done, but just in your natural state. And then if you can do mirror work with a lover or a friend, somebody that you can trust, meaning that you can, sit, in the middle of the day, or if you do have a lover that you can send pictures to and share pictures with, or some people do nude yoga classes and stuff like that. It seems very out of the box for some, but it can be extremely healing if you want to take that step, but yeah, just being in your body and being okay with it, and seeing other nude bodies and being okay with it without it being hypersexualized or being sex out of the context of just sex. I think that helps a lot.
See, that would work for me, but I'm a natural bodybuilder. So if I do that now, my wife is going to be like, oh, there you go again in the morning. I can't believe, because she met me like that. You know what I mean? And I definitely haven't changed. I'd be checking, hey, look, there's a little bit of chub right here. You see what I'm saying? And I know how to bring it up or bring it down. I know to stay within my weight, so to speak, at 215, what my diet is, but she can't stand that. So I know if I start it now, she's going to be like, oh, what's wrong with you? Are you going back to where you were? And, I got kids now too, so they can't see me in the mirror, that ain't gonna work for me.
Opposite that picture, so
maybe you could stand with her and have her be in the mirror. You stand behind her and tell her all the things that you love about her body.
Beautiful, absolutely. I'm actually gonna borrow that. You think I'm joking?
She's not. Hopefully, it might be hard. Even now, like when somebody I really like, tells me, "You look really nice today," and I'll be like, yeah, you're just saying that. What you want,
Right.
Sometimes we men, and when we have to learn to just take compliments, and I would say it's for men too. I did a couple of, not too many, but I did a couple of practices with men where I saw them nude, and for men, it's not always just about like their physique. Sometimes it's how big their genitals are, or or their sexuality in general, because their sexuality oftentimes for men is seen as a threat. Like I can't be sexual, or if I get an erection, whether it's natural or not, and I'm trying to, like, I'm perverted, that part of me is a threat to you. So when men can be in a space and I'm like, no, I'm holding this space for you so that you can feel comfortable. I'm not asking anything from you, but I'm allowing you to know that your sexuality is sacred, like that's important.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
That's so true. I mean, that's so true. Men, we are something. But I told story. When I first started working out, it was terrible. I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? You know, the first time you're like, wow, it's there. Oh, look at there it is. Then when you get older, like you start working out, like I was in high school, working out, but then you get injured, you got a lot of stuff happen, you start sitting on your butt, bum start getting fun for you, chicken wings, fried chicken all day. I'm talking
about bum buns, Frazier?
Green egg.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
You already know what happened after that.
That's crazy. Oh, I know.
So you gain a little weight, sometimes, and at the same time as you gain weight, you gain insecurity. Like I noticed that somebody said that, oh nah, you lying. No. If some of you notice like you're saying, some big guy feel, well, I can't get that woman because I'm fat, or I can't get that person because I'm fat. If I lose a little weight, I can get her anytime I want to. And you have some guy with it, like Joel said, be flexing and doing all the muscles, and women go for that. But I heard some women say, even though they do for all that, it's not as performance-wise good as an average Joe. So like ego, they go back to what you said, Miss Krystal, that ego start kicking in. The men start feeling insecure. Like now the one at Buffy start feeling insecure. Hey, wait, what do you mean? I ain't performing right? I'm in shape. Wait, what's wrong? I mean, what's wrong with me? Why do you think he's better than me? Or like one problem I have is that when I ask you about like somebody comparing to older relationships. Like you're in a new relationship, but you're comparing every aspect of that to the new relationship. Is that something like a problem in relationship-wise aspect, or should it be channeled a different way, or you just go what in the moment?
Right. Yeah, no, I think that we all have insecurities, no matter how fit we are, or, what size we are, whether we're male or female, because I mean, even you could be the fittest guy in the world and still have an experience with ED where, just one time you're nervous and you couldn't get it up and the woman was disappointed, and that could be, you could be disappointed in your performance. That's a part of your body, and you could be extremely fit. It could be something emotional or psychological. You may not be turned on, or maybe you're tired, and then you feel like your body lets you down. Women who are juicy most of the time, they have one night where they're not. And then, and the body does so much for us. And a lot of times we always are using it for things that we want, like aesthetically, we want it to be pleasing to people, or we want it to perform, but we don't think about, the self-care and just be appreciating what it has done for us. We just want to use it all the time, so I think being able to appreciate the body and what it does for us already, and then taking care of it from that place, not just because you are building an exterior of confidence, on the outside, because, I look good. Because like you said, anything could happen. You could get injured, you could get depressed.
You can eat too many honey buns, Frazier.
Hey, I like honey buns. You got me on that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
And, your life, you never know what might be thrown at you at life. So you want to appreciate the body beyond just it performing well for you or being aesthetically desirable to other people. You have a right to look your best and take care of it, but we need to learn how to just appreciate it, in its natural state for what it's doing for us to keep us alive, and having it on our soul's journey. And you can look at your sexuality the same way. It doesn't have to be just, I'm trying to perform for somebody, or I'm trying to be, make sure I'm performing well for somebody. It can also be to experience your own energy for, creativity, or for, if you get really deep, expanding your consciousness, because when you learn how to transmute that energy, especially for men, it goes into practice of semen retention, where you're not nutting all the time, but you actually use that energy and those nutrients that are in your semen to rebuild your body, and to be able to, I'm trying to think of a way that doesn't sound too deep, a way of kind of having discipline, I guess, more focus. So when you have control over your orgasm, where you're not necessarily having to ejaculate all the time, you have more control over your energy, and that that spills over into like business and logic and just day-to-day practices that keep you a little bit more focused than feeling like I gotta have a release. I gotta have a release. When you are able to control that, it matures you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on a different level.
Also for sports. Okay,
Yeah.
when you're training and you're doing 14-week, 16-week training camps, that's
Yeah.
why they don't have any spouses or any wives or anything
Right.
like that, because that energy needs to be there to
Right.
be able for you to move. And for men, that's also part of um, testosterone buildup and things of that nature that you're doing naturally because
Sexual energy isn't
exactly,
just
you know,
for making children. It's part of your stamina. It's a part of your get up and go and building your actual body and energetically. Like, it has other roles other than just making babies or giving you like these urges to please yourself. Like, it has other roles. And I think when people learn that through Tantra practices, like experiencing it, but also like learning it through ancient philosophy, because we had these teachings long ago, they were just whitewashed out. But indigenous cultures always knew that, oh, sexual energy is very powerful. It makes babies
right?
do other things. And so they explored it scientifically, and then they came up with a curriculum to teach once people were, mature enough, maybe adolescent age or a little bit older, teach them, okay, this is what also your sexual energy should do. And this is how you should practice making it sacred. And this is how you should cultivate intimacy when you're making love. And it's not always about the dynamic of the relationship, but it's respecting the art and the science of sex and sexual energy, because we're not always going to just be in a committed long-term relationship, but it doesn't mean you can't understand and practice and appreciate the sacredness and the power of sexual energy and sex. So our cultures had that. It just was taken away from us a long time ago.
So let me ask you now, how hard is that? And the reason why I say how hard is that, because we're bombarded from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep. We have magazines that tell women how skinny they should be and what's fashionable. We have men magazines, men health, men fitness, where you're looking at another man and you're like, hey, hold on. I think I got at least four of that six pack. You know what I mean? And you have everything else that just keeps pecking at you every day, and to the point that you feel like if you can't physically match up to that, and you were talking about fear earlier, fear of performance, where the point that you can't even get an arousal because you're so nervous or you're afraid, you know, those things. And by the way, from what I heard from other men, that devastates them when they can't perform and they're used to it. It devastates them. Some men never recoup from that. You see what I mean? Because they feel like not only did they let their bodies down, but they're scared, nervous. They don't even know what happened or how it happened, and it throws them all backwards, because you used to stand up and salute when you got up in the morning. You didn't even have to think about it, and
Exactly.
now all of a sudden it was something that you wanted and it never happened. I think that's what they made Viagra for, just to get rid of that solution. But Viagra is not the solution either, because
No.
Viagra causes a lot of psychological problems and physical problems when you put too many synthetics into your body, which I've said time and time again. So back to my original question: how hard is that? How hard is it deprogramming people from our Western culture that we see?
I think it can be extremely hard. But I think depending on your intentions, like a lot of people ask me how I got into this work, and I was a truth seeker. I started off as an athlete. I had some hip injuries. And as I started practicing yoga, because nothing else was helping to balance out my hips so that I could continue running, it unlocked a lot of sexual energy that I didn't know I had. And so that kind of expanded my awareness, I'll say. And a lot of different things started happening. My dreams started to become more vivid and things like this. I'm like, what is this? How is this? How is the sexual energy connecting to my dreams and me doing yoga? And so it just took me down a rabbit hole of seeking, like, what was this? So you have to be open-minded. You have to also, that's what when people come to me, I always ask them my questionnaire, do you have a spiritual practice? because I want to know like how open-minded you are to like improving yourself. Like, is this just something that you want to learn how to be better at sex, or, you know, those things matter. So when you have an intention of becoming a better person, you know, and wanting to know God has a way, or the divine has a way, whatever you believe in, of helping you. And it's not easy because you have a lot of things in the world there to distract you because they're trying to sell you things through sex. Like all of these ads that you're talking about, all the marketing, you got to look this way. So you need to buy this. So you look like this because so you can be sexy, so you can get what you want, you know, because so you can be desirable to people. So,
Right.
but you have to be a person that wants to know something a little deeper than what the shallow stuff that people are selling you. And if you're looking for peace, and if you're looking to understand things that are beyond just what we see, if you're seeking something that drives you, that's a little bit closer either to God or the divine, it's not necessarily been easier, but you will have you'll be more motivated to do the work it takes to look beyond what the world is selling you all the time. And that means you have to be feeding your mind things that actually feed your spirit and not just your carnal desires, you know? So it's a balance of not suppressing your primal instincts because you need them, but being able to look deeper because you want to seek truth and you want to kind of get closer to being a better person or understanding God or whatever it is. You know, it has to be deeper than just, I want to look good, I want to perform because I want to be desired, you know, type of thing. But it is difficult. And depending on where you're at on your journey in life, you know, it can be, I think, more or less difficult. So I guess
Right.
individual, but definitely not easy. No, this is not an easy path. No.
Okay.
Is that our clock? Ding ding. You got to go. It's up. It's over.
No, that's just my phone going off. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. No problem. I mean,
I was just saying.
you know, you are saying some stuff right here, so I wanted to keep you for a few minutes. But
Oh
if you
yeah.
got the ding ding, hey, it's time
Yeah.
to go. We'll have
Hey.
you back. We would definitely have you back because I think a lot of people need to hear what you're saying,
Exactly.
because I think once you hear it and understand it, even at the elementary level, it it's like anything else. When you pull that string, your curiosity will keep you going. That will be your reason to getting up in the morning. And self-fulfillment, believe it or not, has made people hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, we had a guy on, Brent Musk, Magnuson, who met Tony Roberts, and that changed his life. And what does Tony Roberts do? Tony Roberts talks about self fulfillment, visualization, connecting to something more spiritual than you are, and achieving those dreams and goals. And it's the exact same thing. Now, he does it through one way and you do it through the other, but the same thing is self fulfillment, self building, self actualization in order for you to accomplish what you need to accomplish. You know, same thing with martial arts. I
Yeah.
keep talking about martial arts, but the mind is so powerful that if the mind says no, you'll never do it, you know. And I'm coming from a place of putting my hands through bricks and everything like that. If you honestly believe that you're not going to break that brick, you won't break it. You'll break your hand. Okay. If you believe that you can't perform a technique, you'll never be able to perform that technique
Exactly.
because you already told yourself, no, you can't do it.
You feed yourself
So
weak.
yeah, you know, so it's very, very, very powerful when it comes to that, you know.
My
Fraser,
light decided to
I'm
go off. I don't know why.
saying, Fraser, I'm talking, man. Lights going off. I think she had to go, man.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? Man, that's crazy. Yeah, man. It's all good.
Oh, see, nah. I got a question for you. Like you say, you're spiritual. Have that ever happened to you at a point with a partner or yourself that had a disappointment in that particular area where one partner felt disappointed, he didn't satisfy you, or you had felt at one point that you didn't satisfy your partner, or and then how do you rebuild yourself from that disappointment to where a point where you can feel comfortable saying, "Look, this is what happened. It wasn't you, it was more me, but this is how we can fix it." I mean, have you ever experienced that type of it's emotional or anxiety going on where
Yeah, I have. I was in a marriage where we weren't very sexually compatible, and I think that what I've learned in my journey, even now, like I'm still learning as I'm exploring my sexuality as a woman and being single now and having a little bit more freedom because I'm not on lockdown. Is that making love is like any other art. Like you have to continue to educate yourself. You have to feel comfortable with your own sexuality and your body. And the more you take the time to actually learn about your body, how to take care of it, how to cultivate your own sexual energy, what pleases you, and then also developing your intuition so that you're in tune with your partner, paying attention to their body language, what are they responding to, and being able to have those conversations because you're looking at sex as a sacred thing. It's like, yeah, there's no problem. We could talk about this. I think that makes it more palatable and easier for you to be comfortable in discussing things, but you have to educate yourself. Like it's not something that you're just gonna know what to do, you know? So the more experience, well, I don't say more experience because you could have a bunch of partners and still not know what you're doing. But taking the time to actually educate yourself, like you could use a coach or you can use sex experts. The reason why these people are out there is because you have to like invest in kind of learning about the sexual arts before you can be good at it or be better at it. You know, you're not just going to necessarily come with these skill sets. I mean, most guys that I know that I've talked to or that I've had an experience with sexually, they knew what they were doing because they had an older woman teach them at some point in their life, you know, and then they had to kind of take the foundation of what they learned and then being able to be empathetic and be in tune for each particular woman that they were with, you know, learn how to listen when a woman is talking, learn how to observe her body language, you know, and be confident that they can use what they have in their skill set to, you know, that they can please whoever that they're with, you know, or enjoy the person that they're with because you don't want to be too heavy on performance. So like, unfortunately for me, through the majority, I was married from the time I was like 23 to like 39. So like during well, we had separated and stuff, but you know, so we'll say about 38 or whatever, like I didn't really, it was kind of hard because I didn't have anybody teach me or tell me. Now that I've had some experiences and I've been learning Tantra, and even while I was still married, but maybe we were separated because we were separated a couple of times, I understood my own body better because I started to practice Tantra, you know, self-pleasure practices and things like that. Then I became more aware of what I actually liked beyond just with my husband. And then once I started to have other sexual experiences, then I was able to learn even more, but usually with someone that, you know, knew more than I did. So, but I had to be open to the experience. So I think that, yes, I have been through it, but I think in order to get better or get through it, like you have to be comfortable with your body first, and then you also have to be willing to research and learn more, either if that's through books or going to workshops and the funny thing is I find that people a lot of times that are good at sex want to learn more. It's the people that are really shy or they're not as confident that their ego is like, I don't want to learn. Like, I don't, you know, I already know what I'm doing. I don't need nobody to talk to me. Blah, blah, blah. But it's the people that are very comfortable and pretty good that are always, yeah, I want to learn more because they know that the more they learn, usually the more exciting time they'll have when they're with their partner or whatever. So you have to be open-minded to learn. And sometimes that means investing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is true because I remember it was funny. This story, I was young, but I want to learn. Hey, I'll be good.
Okay, go ahead.
But I had a lot of older friends and a lot of older women I came across. And I was in a magazine ordered this book. It's called The Male Sexual Guide. It's kind of hard to find now. But it goes over every single thing. The book was unbelievable. It talks about orgasm, talking how the channel, how to become tuned in one with the woman. If you're not in tune with the woman, this won't happen. This won't happen. This won't happen. Or you won't have this. Everybody ever some men don't know they can have a male orgasm. Don't know what the heck that is. Like, what the hell? It just come out good. No. And then some people don't know that there's certain things why certain people do certain things. They can explain, or something happened to them, they can't explain. Because like you say, it goes back to things happening, open up channels, and then, what's going on with that picture?
Right.
You know? And now I'm asking a question. Now open relationships. It's not become very common now compared to more than before, and now more open. Right now you see people actually moving in together now. You have the girlfriend and the wife. You have this here, and they're doing similar things as a couple, but they're not as a couple. I mean, if that energy should be shared, like is it good to share the energy that you have with that one person with another person, or is it mostly better to share the energy with that same person? I'm sure a lot of people confused once they have experienced it. Now become confused. Like, do I really want just one, or do I want just two, or do I want three? Or do I want? I mean, now you got multiplying and multiplying to a point where you want something you don't really will ever happen, but you assume it will happen because based on what the experience you had. Like, what do you think about that at the point of open relationship wise versus traditional man and woman? Like, what's your input on that?
I think that every person has the right to create whatever relationship dynamic works for them. And so I feel like, it's funny when people ask me about open relationships, it's like, oh, if you like it, I love it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like people, like, nobody has the right to tell you that this is wrong if it works for you. Now, I have found that sometimes people have to be careful with these type of relationship dynamics when they're trying to overcompensate. Like, if you aren't getting exactly what you want at home and you feel like you got to bring somebody in extra because you haven't resolved, sometimes it's not even about the other person. Sometimes it's about things within you that you're seeking. You may not, your desires to have more sex might be more about avoiding, like, you not really liking your job, or you not finishing school, or something that was said to you about you not being good enough a long time ago. So you're seeking to be validated through other people. And when you're in a marriage, it's like the biggest mirror ever. And so they're not always going to be, building your ego, and you might be looking from that. And so a new relationship with new energy might give you that. And sometimes I think in these kind of poly situations or these non-monogamous relationships, that is easy to fall into that. But if it's not that, and you are mature enough to handle, 3 different personalities or 4 different personalities, and that exchange of energy, I think people can learn a lot from that. I'm not sure that the vast majority of people are ready for that type of maturity, because it takes a lot of work, because everybody comes with baggage, and you have to consider that. But there's a lot of people that have issues with monogamous relationships too. Over 50% of marriages end in divorce. So I don't know if it's always just about, having 1 or 2 people. It may just be that we have not learned how to have healthy romantic relationships, healthy sex relationships, and we need more well-rounded education around it, so that we can decide, is this something that I really want or need? Is this really going to help evolve me as a person? Because it could. Or am I trying to overcompensate for something? Is this a fantasy and I don't really have the tools to know how to work through this without having more karmic consequences and being more entangled, and stuff. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, if my wife is listening, I'm good. Okay? With me, you know what I mean? Hey, look at here. All right. Fine. I got more than enough I'm dealing with right now. Okay? I don't need no more personalities. Okay? It's all good.
I don't know, but
I've been good for a long time now. All right. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I feel like those types of relationships, if people are mature enough to handle them, or if they want to explore them, they should check out some books. I have a book called Opening Up, I think it's called. Like, there's books on, like, if it's just a thought or you're considering it, like, do your research, see what people in open relationships go through, what some of the issues that comes up and how they resolve them. And but I think being a human being and evolving is all about new experiences. And sometimes people want to explore that, but just know that with every experience, there'll be highs and lows, and be prepared as prepared as you can for when
You'll be broke too. That's right.
Hey, woo.
4 different women. It's four
Man,
different 4 different paychecks. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look at here.
Yeah, but it's made the same thing. Go back with you, pick what you said. I saw a movie called Superwoman, and it was almost similar to the same scenario where a couple met a young lady she was a student in their class, and it was, I guess they were experimenting, and they were doing, and they ended up falling in love with each other. I guess they fall in love with the guy first and the woman second, and they actually started a relationship. They actually had a baby in this relationship now. So you see two people who actually married now bring a third person into their relationship, and some people view them differently. Like he also lost his job because the school thought it was inappropriate because she was a student, and some of the neighbors felt ill towards him, turned their face towards him, and it was so much pressure on the relationship they had built to the point they actually separated. And now the moment they had a child in the picture, so now the child experiencing different things. Now he's just seeing 3, now he's only seeing 1, or she comes to visit. And then, big story short, they end up moving somewhere else and they had to talk about it, communicate. Nothing you speak about, you said also communicate, had to understand what was really going on with the situation. Like, there was the husband she felt like her husband felt more for her, then she felt more for her, or vice versa, And the pick of that was the comic book Superwoman. They kind of say that's where that woman, Superwoman really came from, not from what people really said it came from, but for that scenario. And it's being a strong woman to deal with situations of all sorts.
That's true, Craig. Art does imitate life, but you can do that in real life. Hey, where'd they move to? Utah? You know what I'm saying? Hey, look at me. I mean, hey, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
We do that all the time.
One of the thing that show how society can accept some things, but accept something not, and then they can flip it to what they want to accept.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's funny. And I tell people sometimes I think culture-wise, like you go back to what you're saying, Christianity, religion, all that play a part in how you view certain things. And that shows that, oh, he's a Christian, he can't be doing that. Or he's a pastor, he can't do that. He can do this, he gotta do this. So people, that pedestal up there can sometimes help you, or it also bury you in a lot of stuff you can't come out of emotionally, physically, and also hurt your relationships, how your self-esteem, and it also it breaks you down a lot. And now saying that, like, what would you say to somebody who's going through similar scenarios to that? Like, what would your solution be to that if you had the opinion to help them out?
About
accepting that how people will view them as a couple, not as a traditional couple, but as an unconditional couple, open and set, and they actually make commitment to each other as a committed relationship. Like, how would you help them counsel through some of the ups, and you say ups and the downs of it?
Yeah, I think that that's where the research comes in. Yeah. Also, I think environment does make a difference because, it's one of the reasons why I moved here to New York, because when you're in a really conservative environment, you need to have a support system. You need to be around a community that is not constantly like judging you or beating you down. That can be really important. And so you need that. If you would like to be in an open relationship, it's important to meet with other couples that are going through similar things and hopefully have had some success, and communicate with them and see what worked for them versus what didn't, and some of the things that they went through. So it's important to have that, but you have to know that this is your life, and just because other people think a certain way, you have a right, like I said before, to create whatever relationship dynamic works for you. Now, if you are fighting with your own religion, thinking that you're going to go to hell because you did this or that, that's when you have to decide what you believe in.
Right.
And everybody wants to have some type of spiritual practice. And that's why I love what I practice, because I'm very much a believer in Christ consciousness. I'm very much a believer in God and that there are divine energies that guide me. And I'm well connected to that. But but I don't practice something that demonizes sex. I don't practice anything that demonizes any type of sexual orientation. It doesn't demonize, anything that I feel like is conflicting with the world that I live in, as far as, the things that I feel like I shouldn't have to, second guess, what feels natural to me.
Right.
I practice something that honors that. So you have to, build some inner awareness that's not just connected to whatever you were taught when you were younger. And that's where real maturity and faith and your personal connection and God comes in. So that way, when you're hearing outside voices telling you this or that, you can take heed and discernment to what actually is beneficial
Right.
to your situation,
Right.
and what's not.
Excellent. Well, we want to thank you for being on the show. We definitely want to have you back because I think that we actually scratched the surface on a lot of different things that need just a little bit more talking about, a little bit more expounding on. I want to really talk more about trauma because trauma manifests itself a lot of different ways. Like I said, verbal, physical, mental, you know, even some childhood traumas that have been buried in the subconscious, and we touched on it, but it's what's really affecting a lot of us in our communities as well too, and people of color that look like us because we suffer in silence, and we do it. We've done it for decades, so to speak. Even grown men in their 60s can still tell you about traumatic experiences that they went through as children, you know, and vivid, just like it happened yesterday, which means that, those type of traumas are still affect them. So I would definitely love to have you back on the show um, to talk more.
Definitely. Gotta have it back.
Okay, I'll be
Yeah,
back.
thank you. Appreciate you.
You.
Great show, Phrase. Great
Great,
show.
great show.
Listen, man, we only have about 3 minutes left, and I wanted to get through
Okay.
what's going on. I want everybody to be safe. Okay.
Exactly.
Um, we realize that this is after the election. We're in election week. Do not believe all the hype that you're hearing. Okay. I hate to move from such a positive moment in this show to this, but this is real life. Okay. Do not succumb to the violence that people are trying to uh,
Exactly.
make you succumb to. We are Americans first.
Exactly.
And no matter what our politics are, we are Americans first. That means that I may not agree with your politics, but I respect the fact that you have it, and I respect the fact that you have the right to say it. Our politics should never be so divisive that we move into saying things like civil war and war. Not one president, not one nobody is worth the value of that constitution. And the reason why I say that, because that constitution has blood in it. People bled for that constitution. People died for that constitution. People put their lives and make an oath to that constitution, and they're living it. Okay, the living embodying of it. That's when you hear about people paying the ultimate sacrifice,
Exactly.
okay, for that constitution. So we're Americans. I'm begging you, please don't fall victim to all the hype that you're hearing in all the news and everything like that. One president or the next, they're still the president of the United States, and we are Americans. So
Exactly.
y'all got
Exactly.
nothing but love for me.
Exactly. I want to pick up what you said. We're Americans. We understand what does that mean. America does not mean we react irrationally over certain situations or even a person. We for the better good of all. That's what we gotta look at. That's what term American means is a group of all, not just one individual. That people gotta understand that one person should not dictate how you should react to a scenario because A, you don't understand why you lost or understand why this happened or what situation caused you or what event. You still should understand one thing. Keep people in a positive motion on whatever the transition is, you know? And remember one thing, I grew up saying all Americans take after the American. We understand about Americans and we look after Americans. You
Right.
know? no matter what culture, what background, wherever you're from. Once you become an American, you have the right to be free, thought, opportunity, whatever. And so somebody give you a voice should not have their voice spread violence toward any other culture inside of America. Should not, no matter what happened, because we all Americans. We all bled for this country. No matter what color you're, red, white, black, and you, yellow, whatever you want to be, you fought for this country. You stood for this country. You stand as pledge of allegiance to the country. You put your hand over your right, over your heart, and you say the pledge of allegiance. That's something you mean. You know, that's something you should abide by. And that should define you as an American. And the way you said, George, say, be safe and remember one thing. Americans do what's best for the better good of all, not just one individual.
Hey, this is Frazier. This is George.
Hey, that's afraid. This is George.
This is Real Talk with George and Frazier. We want to thank Krystal for coming on the show. Tomorrow we have Arthur. Her name is Sylvania Limpkin. Sylvania Limpkin. Okay. So that's her name. And we have an author tomorrow, special time, 8 o'clock. Check out Real Talk. We want to thank everybody for coming on, and we see you guys tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Stay blessed.
Be blessed.